Term 5. It's your scary librarian online. Hello! Yes, back to school and back to learning, and today I want to tell you about the Carnegie Medal and the Carnegie shortlisted books. Some of you will probably know what I'm talking about. Most of you won't have the foggiest idea. Some of you might have seen this folder in school that has lots of award-winning books in it, and this has got the Carnegie winners inside. So today I have a short presentation about what the medal is and what you can do to get involved, and also what books have been shortlisted for the medal this year, so you can have a little look. If any of you are interested in joining the shadowing scheme, don't worry, you will understand what that means after this following presentation. Please let me know, and I'll make sure I send you all the links so you can access the online content. Some of you would have seen the email I've sent to you this morning. I will be sending you more emails and more links, so keep a lookout in your inboxes for all of that. Keep quizzing. Some of you are doing really well. Really nice to see lots of you quizzing. Keep it up. Remember, you can do the non-fiction articles on AR as well. But for now, I hope you're comfortable because it's a little bit of a long presentation. But sit down, relax, and let's all learn about Carnegie. Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your Carnegie Medal presentation. I would like to start by saying apologies again for the recording quality. I don't have a microphone. I need to get myself a recording studio for these things, but you'll have to try to bear with me. This is also a fairly long presentation. I'm going to try to keep it as short and snappy as I can. The Carnegie Medal, you might have heard of it, seen something. You might have seen the blue circle you can see on the screen now, the shortlisted. You can see that as a sticker on the front of some books. And you might have wondered what it is, what it's about, and what you do. And that's what I'm here to tell you about. So the Carnegie Book Medal Award and the Kate Greenaway Medals are the UK's oldest and most prestigious children's book awards. They're often described by authors and illustrators as the one they want to win. It's like the Oscars of book awards in the UK. The medal was established in 1936 in memory of Andrew Carnegie. Mr. Carnegie was a Scottish-born self-made industrialist who made his fortune in steel in the USA. His experience of using libraries as a child led him to resolve that, and I quote, "If ever wealth came to me, that it would be used to establish free libraries." He kept his promise and set up more than 2,800 libraries across the English-speaking world. And by the time of his death, over half of the library authorities in Great Britain had Carnegie libraries. So this is the 83rd year the book award has been running. Now this is a unique award because it is judged solely by librarians. So these are people who work with young adults and children every day. So they tend to have a good idea of what children and young adults like to read. Past winners includes so many names that you would all know. I've got a few on the screen, but there's loads and loads and loads. There is a folder in the library that you can have a flick through that tells you the previous winners, but a few of them, as you can see, is C.S. Lewis, Terry Pratchett, Patrick Ness, who won 2 years running. He won for Monsters of Men and then A Monster Calls, and The Monster Calls was also the only book, I think, ever to win both the Carnegie Medal and the Kate Greenaway medals. Sarah Crossan has won, Geraldine McCaughrean and Philip Pullman, and the medals are awarded annually by the Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals. So I will not be talking very much about the Kate Greenaway Award. Just to touch on what it is, it's the only prize in the UK to solely reward outstanding illustration in a children's book. It was established a little bit later than the Carnegie Medal in 1955 and is named after a popular and highly influential 19th century artist who was known for her fine children's illustrations and designs. So that's more for the kind of picture books usually, so we won't have that in the library. Some we have. You might remember Sean Tan's book, The Arrival, that did win the Kate Greenaway medal.
So I said earlier that you could take part, I think. If I didn't, then I'm telling you now. You can take part and be a shadower. Every year, CILIP invites reading groups at home, in school, in libraries, anywhere, to join in and get shadowing. So if you are shadower, you follow the judges' process for the medals. So you read the books, you discuss them, you review them, you can engage in stuff online, you can listen to the authors. There's loads and loads and loads you can do, but basically what you do is read the books and share them. And it's brilliant because if you go on the shadowing website, you can see reviews from other students, and it's really nice to kind of get other people's opinions on the books and see if it matches yours. It's a really nice thing to do, to be a shadower. There's thousands of registered groups across the UK. We have a group already. It's called the Scary Librarians Reading Emporium. I didn't name that one. That was named by somebody else, not me. If you want to get involved, you are welcome to do so, and I'll tell you all about it a little later on. So how does the medal work and the process? It's the same every year. So in September, children librarians and youth librarians can choose books to nominate for the medal, and they choose books that were published the year before. So it's like the school year. So it goes from, so the books that were nominated this year were books that were published between September 1st in 2018 and August 31st in 2019. And then in November, so this time around it was 4th of November last year, the nominated list of books is announced, and that can be a really, really long list. This year was 162 books. Last year was only 137, so it goes up and up and up. And then between November and February, the 14 judges from the different regions of the UK read the books and ready all the books on the nomination list. And then in February, this year it was the 20th of February, the judges decide on the long list of the books. The long list consists of 20 books. And we have all the 20 books in the library whenever we come back. the long list is there. So if you're ever kind of wondering what to read, you're short of ideas, looking at a book that has been on the long list previously is a brilliant way of finding a good book, basically. On the 19th of March this year, so just before we left school for this new situation we find ourselves in, the shortlist was announced. That's also decided by the judges, and the shortlist consists of 8 books. Now, usually that's when shadowing starts. So shadow groups start shadowing in March, and read the books and share the books, and then in June the winner is usually announced under a lot of pomp and circumstance, with loads of people present, and it's streamed online. It's really, really quite a big thing. However, this year obviously we find ourselves in a completely different situation. So there's some slight changes this year, and there's actually changes that I kind of like. So the winner of the medals will be revealed in a media announcement, or in a social media announcement, still on the 17th of June 2020. However, the shadowing scheme has been extended until October. And the Shadowers' Choice Awards, I'll talk about that later as well, will be announced in October as well. Now, I think this is really exciting because it gives all of you a chance to get involved. Some of you might find the whole idea of reading the 8 books between March and June a little bit daunting, but this will give you a lot more time to maybe get involved and read. So whilst the schools are closed, it can be much harder to get a hold of these books. And also it'd be harder to get together to do any shadowing activities in school. So CILIP is working with publishers to make sure that there will be stuff online that you can do. So the books hopefully should be made available digitally, so you can read them at home. I'm not sure if that's going to be free. You might have to buy the books from home. But it will give you more time to do this, and I'm going to try my best to help kind of whet your appetite by reading some extracts to you. So just wanted to introduce quickly the judge for our region. Her name is Jenny Jones. She has been our judge for a couple of years. She is a school librarian at Clifton College Preparatory School, and she's a great lover of children's literature, and reads and reads and reads and reads and reads. So she does know what she's talking about. So she's a good judge for us. So what do they do? How do they judge these books? How do they decide who should go on the shortlist and who should win? Well, the book that wins should be a book of outstanding literary quality. The whole book should provide pleasure, not merely from the surface enjoyment of a good book and a good read, but also the deeper subconscious satisfaction of having gone through, at the time of reading, a real experience that is retained afterwards. So you know the kind of books that you read and it kind of stays with you for some reason. It either still boggles your mind or you still think about the characters, that looking for something that really kind of grabs your attention. And all these criteria cannot be met by all the books because there's so many different kinds of books that are nominated or on the lists. So there's loads and loads of other judging criteria, but I'm not going to read them all out to you because that would be very, very boring indeed. So you can always, if you want to, pause right here, pause and read them all. But other criteria include things about the style, the plot and characterization. So does the dialogue and narrative work effectively together? Is the plot well constructed? Are the characters believable and convincing? And so on and so forth. So there are additional awards, as I mentioned earlier. The Shadow's Choice Award is new. It was new last year, and this is voted for and awarded by the children and young people who shadow the medals. So that is voted for by you, essentially. So this is the new extra special award that the authors really, really want, because they have written this book for young people and children. So obviously having this award is like the extra feather in your hat. Last year's Shadow's Choice Award was given to The Poet X, which was also the book that won the Carnegie medal. So they agreed last year. So it'll be interesting to see what happened this year, if they agree or not. A previous additional award was the Amnesty Honour Commendation that was awarded to one book from each from the Carnegie and Kate Greenaway medal shortlist, but that changed last year as it was the 25th anniversary of the Children's Convention Act. So they decided to change it to a Shadow's Choice Award instead. So on the screen now you have the long list of 2020s. That was 20 books that was announced in February. And on this list you'll see books that you've already seen in the library. You probably have seen Inkling because it's got such a cute cover. Some of you will know that I love Susan Nielsen, No Fixed Address up there. My favourite book on the long list that didn't actually make the shortlist is Toffee by Sarah Crossan. I love Sarah Crossan. Her writing is brilliant. Toffee is written in verse as well. I know some of you have already read it. If you haven't read it, please give it a try when you get back to school. It is a beautiful book. It's gorgeous. But here is your shortlist for this year. 8 books. And I'm going to go through a quick presentation of them. What I'm hoping to do in the next couple of weeks is to read you some extracts from these books, probably via the YouTube channel that I have, but I will send you the links to these extracts so you can get a little bit of a taste of them and see if there's any other books you really would like to try to read. So let's go through them in sort of quick succession. The first one is Girl, Boy, Sea by Chris Vick. I'd want to tell you a little bit about the authors. You can read the blurb on the screen. If you just pause it quickly, it will give you a bit of a snapshot. But I'd like to tell you a bit about the authors as well, because that kind of gives it a bit more of a bit more life, I think. And the first one, Chris Vick, it's interesting because he is fairly local. He is a graduate of Bath Spa in writing for young people, and he still lives near Bath. He teaches and he writes and he works for a whale and dolphin conservation charity. This book is about 2 people who are stranded, lost at sea. One is Bill and one is Aya. Bill is very practical and he tries to make sure they survive at sea in a practical way, whereas Aya is a storyteller. It's a brilliant book. quite tense, but a great adventure. Next one is Lampy, and this is the only one I think this year that is written by somebody who doesn't have English as her first language. Is Annette Schaap, who is a well-loved illustrator in the Netherlands. Lampy is her debut novel, and it's already won like every possible award in the Netherlands. So co-nominated here is Laura Watkinson. She's a translator of the book. She's a full-time translator. She translates from Dutch, Italian and German, but she lives in Amsterdam. Lampy is a gorgeous fairy tale type adventure about Lampy, who's a lighthouse keeper's daughter. She has a bit of a mishap and a ship is wrecked and she's sent off in disgrace. And she finds adventure and monsters and villains and heroes. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. The next one is Lark, and this one is an interesting one. Anthony McGowan is a multi-award winning author of young adult novels. His book Rook was shortlisted last year and features the same characters as this one that he's shortlisted for this year, which is Lark. This book is published by Barrington Stoke, so this is a dyslexia friendly book. It's also a short book. It's got less than 100 pages, so for those of you who might find this whole idea of reading 8 books quite daunting, this is a brilliant first book to try. It's also a good one for those of you who might want to just kind of get on and read one. I'm kind of hoping I might be able to read you this book in its entirety via Zoom or via YouTube. I'll keep you posted about that. It follows Nikki and Kenny. This is a bit of an adventure where they get stuck on the moors in a blizzard. Brilliant, brilliant, especially for a short book. Anthony McGowan is really good at capturing capturing a story in not so many words, if that makes sense. Nowhere on Earth by Nick Lake is the next book. Love that, cover's beautiful. Nick Lake was born in the UK but grew up in Luxembourg, where his dad was a European Member of Parliament. He works in publishing by day and has a long commute to work. So on his long commute to work, he gets time to use his imagination and write. This book is a thriller about a girl called Emily and her brother Aidan, who is in a plane crash. They're stowed away on a plane. They crash the plane, and Emily and Aidan have to try to run from mysterious government forces who want to capture them. My favorite character in this book is the pilot, Bob. Love him. Lovely story. It kind of goes far, this story. Maybe sometimes stretches your imagination really, really tight, but brilliant story. Next one is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. You probably recognize Angie Thomas's name and sort of the style of that book cover, because her previous book, her debut novel, in fact, The Hate You Give, was shortlisted in 2018 and was awarded the Amnesty Honor Award. So you probably recognize this one, On the Come Up. Angie Thomas was born and raised and still lives in Mississippi, and she is a former teen rapper. Get that? And she can still rap if needed. And this book is about a young girl who wants to become a rapper. Brilliant, brilliant book. If you liked The Hate You Give, you would love this book. It's as good as The Hate You Give, but also has a really lovely sort of rhythm and rhyme in it. Next one is Patron Saints of Nothing. I can't pronounce his name. Ribay? I have no idea. We'll have to be on first term basis with Randy, I reckon. This is a bit more of an unusual book. Randy was born in the Philippines but grew up in the American Midwest. He still lives in the US in the San Francisco Bay Area, where he teaches English. But this plot takes the main character Jay back to the Philippines. And this is a different book. This has got a lot of young adult content in it. It's about drugs, alcoholism, violence, death, but it's different, and that's what the Carnegie Medal does really well. It picks out different kind of books, and not just the books that you might see in the library and pick out. It finds different books. Yeah, this is a brilliant one. Very different, and it's not going to be everybody's taste, but it's well worth a read. And then we have The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. Now that has to be my favourite cover this year. It's gorgeous and flamboyant. Dean Atta is a performance poet. He was named as one of the most influential LGBT people in the UK and one of the greatest modern voices of poetry. His work has appeared on TV and radio, and he regularly performs in the UK and internationally. This book is about a guy called Michael, a boy called Michael. You follow him from a young age. He's a mixed race, a man who comes out as gay as a teenager, and then he goes to university and finds his voice as a drag artist. So you follow Michael's journey. And this book is written in verse, but the book is also interspersed with a lot of poetry. So there's loads of poems in the book that would be brilliant as standalone poems, but are part of the story. Lovely read. It's a great kind of journey following Michael on his comings out and then coming out again. Yeah, well worth a read. Well worth a flick through to read some of the poems if it's not your kind of bag. And then we have Voyages in the Underworld of Orpheus Black. I can see that I've missed black out at the end there, but it's on the cover, so you can see that. And this is written by Marcus and Julian Sedgwick. They are brothers, and they're prolific writers of children's and young adult books. They don't always write together, but they have this time. They're both award-winning and critically acclaimed. Marcus has previously been shortlisted for a Carnegie Award. This book is, to me, the most visually beautiful book this year. They've worked with Alexis Deakin, who has illustrated the book. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's one of those books you want to pick up and just kind of flick through because it's just beautiful. It's set in World War II, but also in the underworld with Greek legends and mythology. So it sounds a bit weird. It's again a different kind of book. It's about brothers Harry and Ellis, and Harry kind of gets stuck between a myth and reality, between the World War II and the Greek mythology of being Orpheus. So it's a different book, but beautiful book. Has to be one of my favorites, but don't tell anyone. Yes, The Voyages in the Underworld of Orpheus Black. So what I have to do now is choose the first book to read. As I said earlier, I'm going to try to read extracts from these books and send them to you so you can get a little taste of them. If you're interested in shadowing, we'll get onto that as well.